The strategy I chose was in chapter 13 and is modeled writing through writing journals. One of the ways that you would have an ELL student practice their writing skills is through a writing journal in which the teacher would ask the student to illustrate something and then have the student write about it. They can either use notes about the picture or they can actually write the sentences. One of the ways that I would incorporate this would be to read a story. In this case, I would pick one that would incorporate all students, whether they were ELL or not, and I would choose like Hooray for Holidays. So this is something where the story talks about making holiday cards based off the student's favorite holiday, drawing pictures in the cards that would illustrate something about their favorite holiday. And that could then be incorporated into the student's writing journal. This is a strategy that could work for independent work and where the students can start by themselves and then move into small groups where then the students could work with the teacher on wherever they were at in their journal writing. So for ELL students, you could start them by drawing their picture, something that talks about their favorite holiday, whether it be fireworks for Independence Day, whether it be the dragon for the Chinese New Year, or things like that. And they would just draw the picture independently. And then when they come back to work with the teacher, then they might be able to work with the teacher either proofreading the sentences they've already had written, or they could start writing those sentences. So if I were to work with an ELL student and they came to me and they said their favorite holiday was the 4th of July. So if they were drawing things, we could say that this would be fireworks. So you could ask the ELL student, what does this picture represent? They could tell you fireworks, or they could write fireworks here. They might tell you they like the food there. So if they like the food during those fireworks, they might say that they like the hot dogs that they could eat. And they could write down hot dog as a way to label that picture. Then they could come to the teacher and I would ask them, tell me about your picture. So if they said that they liked fireworks, that was their favorite part of the 4th of July, then I could do some model writing. Depending on what they already have written, we would proofread that right off the bat, because my standard is about proofreading, checking for capitalization, checking for punctuation, English grammar, and appropriate grade level vocabulary. So one of the things that I would say, if they already had that, we could proofread it. If not, then we will write the sentence. I would model that by having the student write, I like fireworks. Once I have the sentence written so that the student knows that I like fireworks, fireworks is one of the parts that they liked about the 4th of July, I would then say, okay, well now we need to proofread that punctuation, or proofread your sentence. So check to make sure we have a capital letter. We do have a capital letter, making sure that our sentence makes sense. I like fireworks, simple, and it makes sense. Then we're going to make sure that all of our letters are written the correct way. They're not written backwards, that they're spelled correctly. And then we're also going to check for punctuation. I know that I'm giving information. I would tell the student, you're providing me with information. You're giving me information as to why you like this. So we know that the punctuation needed is a period. I would then ask them, okay, well, I see a hot dog in your photo or your picture. So what is it about the hot dog that you like? And they might say, the hot dog is my favorite food. Again, I would then say, okay, well, we could write hot dogs are my favorite food. When I do the model writing, I'm also making sure that I say everything back that I'm writing to the students so that they can hear the words that I am writing. So I would say hot dogs are my favorite food. I'm going to purposely leave off the period on this sentence only because I want to say what I would be explaining to the student. I modeled how everything was spelled and written. I said all of the words that I was writing so that the student could hear the words that I was writing. And we're going to go back and proofread it. So I'm checking for my capital letter. I'm checking to make sure that all of my words are correctly spelled and all of my letters are correctly written. I want to make sure that my sentence makes sense. Hot dogs are my favorite food. So my sentence does make sense. And again, I would ask the student at this point, did you tell me something? Or are you asking me a question? Are you saying something with a lot of emotion behind it? And if they told me they're just telling me, then I would ask them, okay, well, if you're just giving me information, what punctuation would you use? The student would then say period. So I would put my period at the end of my sentence and I would just circle it to show that the period is there. If the student came to me with something already written, they might say fireworks, great. I would then say fireworks are great. So then I would say, I think fireworks are great. I would explain to them that this is not a complete sentence. The sentence does not have punctuation. There is no capital letter. And I would then ask the student, can I rewrite your sentence so that it makes sense? If the student says yes, okay. Then we would say, I think fireworks are great. So then I would tell the student, okay, I have my capital letter starting at the beginning of my sentence and explain that when the I is by itself, the I will always be capitalized. That is something that's very important that the ELL student should know. Then I would say, okay, well, does my sentence make sense? I think fireworks are great. The student would say yes. Then I would check to make sure that my spelling is all correct and that all of my letters are written correctly. So the appearance is correct. Then I would ask the student, are you telling me I think fireworks are great with a lot of emotion? Or are you just telling me I think fireworks are great? If the student said, I think fireworks are great with a lot of emotion, then I would explain, okay, are we going to use the period? Are we going to use an exclamation point? Or are we going to use a question mark? The student would then tell me exclamation point because this is something we've already worked on. So I would write my exclamation point again, circle it to just show that my punctuation mark is there. This journal paper is great because it also gives some reminders down here from my ELL student. One of them saying, is there spaces in between your letters? This will make sure the student knows that there needs to be finger spaces so that the words do not run together. Also, does your sentence start with a capital letter? Again, we've been checking that our sentence does start with a capital letter. Is the proper pronouns capitalized? If we had included names, then yes, we would have made sure in our proofreading that those proper names were capitalized. And then does it have an ending punctuation? Again, we circled our sentences to make sure that we knew that our sentence did have ending punctuation. So journal writing is a great way for students to start working independently and then come to small groups so the teacher can explain further. It also is a great way for teachers to see the student's weaknesses and strengths. So if the student already has some of these sentences written out, you can see how their spelling is. Are they checking for their punctuation, their capital letter, or anything like that? If they don't have anything written, they've only got their pictures, then that is a good sign that maybe they are struggling with their writing, and that's something that you can work further on. I definitely would use this procedure or this strategy in my classroom for sure. It's easy, it's quick, and it seems like it would be a fun strategy and a fun thing for the students to do. Thank you.